The legendary Pan-Africanist Dr. Kwame Nkrumah once stated, "It is clear that we must find an African solution to our problems." When we talk about human and economic integration agenda for Africa, we also cannot do away without mentioning things like a visa-free or borderless Africa. Countries such as Ghana, Kenya, and Rwanda have made promising strides towards Africa's human and economic integration agenda with the visa on arrival and open border policy. Hello besties, and welcome to another video on African history, perceptions, and culture. As seen on the geopolitical map of Africa, most of us would imagine that borders are just lines cutting through the surface of the earth, but in reality, borders are much more complex than that. So stand on one side and you are on one country. Stand on the other side and you might be in an entirely different country. Most borders are created by wars, treaties, and natural features such as rivers or lakes, while others are man-made by erecting fences. Africa is a continent where borders can get pretty much complicated. The main reason for this can be found in its colonial past. When African countries began to take control of their nations and states through independence, African leaders at the time were faced with a critical challenge in the borders that were left behind. They had a choice whether to keep them or redraw new borders. Obviously, they opted to keep them. These are the same borders that exist today. One topic that has become relevant in recent years is the further integration of Africa beyond its borders. The idea of a borderless Africa and its ability to transform and pursue an open borderless policy for Africa far outnumbers its benefits over its negatives for individual countries and the continent at large.
Countries coming together to benefit from each other.
Bigger market.
Renforcer l'union économique et monétaire.
Nous sommes en Afrique, pas de frontières.
What happened in Africa during time immemorial is that without participation of a single African nation, when Europeans in their own view sat down with their own opinion or interest and demarcated Africa in favor of their own economies and development, these in many instances have undermined the good of the continent's history and development as a people. Since that time, language, culture, identity, and religion was totally changed, and now the continent has been divided along artificial borderlines. This is one of the most profound reasons that created a mess we often see today in Africa's borders. In terms of linguistic, some people had to adopt lingua franca, while some embrace indigenous African languages in their national agenda. The bridge in language is also one of the challenges faced in some schools across the continent. Again, imperialists advocated for systems of governance and ideologies to further undermine Africa in the way Africans perceived or organized their own societies. Not only that, trade systems were introduced to undermine the African market and equally retiring the evolution that was supposed to have taken place in Africa as a result of their penetration, thus channeling the resources from Africa to the outside world. We often see in some African countries the impact of the ever-increasing influence China, for example, has, challenging people to question the true intentions of China in Africa today. This is an ongoing challenge that began in the 1960s and around the 1990s when African countries began to regain their independence. China started to rebuild around this time by trying to join the World Trade Organization. And in joining the World Trade Organization, they had to use some skillful approach and strategy similar to that of the Europeans, and that was to dominate the African market and trade. This is how the Africa-China Think Tanks Forum, for example, was formed, and assuming it was organized, this is how China was able to secure data in Africa by knowing exactly what Africans want to consume and what the Chinese market can produce to sell in Africa. One would imagine that Africa beyond borders means an advantage for all its people beyond anything or anyone else, because most Africans already produce what many Africans consume. This has also displaced African communities culturally in different ways, dividing clans, ethnic groups, and societies, making it very challenging for Africans to again organize themselves as a people, nation, and a continent. Well, this is about to change, as many African countries are gearing up to embrace a united and prosperous Africa. Having said this, the challenges and contributions that Africans put in place to curb its problematic borders ought to be highlighted. Africa has not forgotten to decolonize the mindset of colonization. There are so many examples we can use about how a borderless Africa would facilitate an end to some of the continent's critical concerns. Imagining a borderless Africa means taking time to tackle decisions that are going to make Africa great again by controlling especially the resources that belong here. Though fostering international relations is beneficial for Africa, pushing international agenda beyond continental agenda is something that cannot continue if Africa ought to register the development its people desire. The journey to a borderless Africa is most definitely possible if we can resolve the issues that are challenging on a continent by offering homegrown solutions for our homegrown problems. Some of these challenges are as a result of conflict and unity, which are the core objectives of the African Union Agenda 2063. The prospects of imagining a borderless Africa translates to a volume in the movement of people, talent, skills, ideas, and products. So, besties, what do you think a borderless Africa would look like? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section. We hope you enjoyed this video. Do well to subscribe, and we will see you again soon. So, bye besties.